How's it going, ladies and Bruces? I'm Bobby Sixkilla and welcome back to Blake the Visual Novel. We couldn't just leave it at one episode. In the last episode, we learned about our new job, got to know our colleagues, and went out for a couple of drinks, and then seemingly stole 7 owls from a sanctuary. Or something like that. Anyway, let's carry on, shall we? How the fuck did they get here? Was someone pulling a prank? He quickly checked the flat to make sure there was no uninvited guests, apart from the owls. What was he gonna do? How could he make this right? It was his phone. Jonathan's car was here to pick him up. Oh, fuck. Fuck. That's a lot of fucks in the first minute of this video. We might be in trouble. He rushed around getting ready. The owl problem would have to wait a little longer. Instead, they're gonna shit all over the apartment. Come on. Can't just leave them there. Oh, now he's in a trench coat that looks like he's gonna start waving his willy at us. Jonathan was already sitting at a table waiting for Blake. Thank you for joining me on your day off. Blake smiled and sat down. I invited you because we have something important to discuss. Something I should have made you aware of before. I just hadn't found the right time. Jonathan exuded a film noir aesthetic, but of course, no one but him knew what that was. For the man who was the face of the future, he loved to live in the past. The server appeared, and Jonathan bided his time. Put our order on my tab, Mr. Gourdain. I'll have a bottle of Bluebeard. Make that too. Blake thought about the owl problem back at home, and now he felt stuck whilst the situation was getting worse. 2 Bluebeards coming up. The server prodded her tablet before sauntering off. Jonathan looked curious, like he was scrutinizing a puzzle for its solution. What is it? You're troubled. Might I be able to help you? Blake shot a furtive glance around the restaurant, satisfying himself that there were no eavesdroppers present. He continued in a lowered voice. I got drunk and stole some owls? Someone broke into my flat last night. Oh my, what happened? Did they take anything? Such a baffling addition to the flat. Blake hadn't thought to check if anything had also gone missing. No, but... Boop, here's your drinks. Blake knocked back a large swig of Bluebeard and weighed up his options. He was in 2 minds, but he had no choice but to tell Jonathan. Okay, I admit this is going to sound absolutely crazy, and he probably won't believe me, and I'm probably going to lose my job here, but there are owls in my flat. Stolen owls that I didn't put there. Please don't fire me. Jonathan seemed cool and collected. Are you saying someone stole some owls and placed them in your flat in the middle of the night whilst you were sleeping? Somehow, I have no idea how, but yes. Jonathan leaned back in thought and took a deep inhalation. This reminded him of smoking an e-pipe. He enjoyed ancient relics from an era that had been lost to the affliction of time. Out of his collection, he especially admired an antiquated pipe he had acquired from a stall on the opposite side of the city, and had his e-pipe specially redesigned to replicate the antique one. All I know is this morning I woke up to the news channel showing a story about some stolen owls. Moments later I find those missing owls staring down at me from my curtain rail, my shelves, my bed frame, everywhere, pretty much on top of whatever they could perch on in my room. I definitely didn't put them there, I know that for certain, and I have no idea who did it, or how they broke into my flat, or how they could even get there without me noticing. Someone's having a joke. The owl and wood mouse ran away. In an elegant pumpkin carriage, they journeyed wide and far under the stars. Oh, what a beautiful marriage. What is it? He read the text aloud. The owl and the wood mouse? What's that? It's an old poem about 2 unlikely species, the owl and the wood mouse, hunter and prey, who want to be together, and it's not seen as acceptable in the forest, so they run away to live together in harmony. It's a love story. Jonathan rubbed his grey stubble. And now this becomes so very interesting. You have a message from the culprit, so I think it's safe for us to deduce that this wasn't the act of a drunken you. Possibly a harmless, albeit reckless prank, an overzealous admirer, a jilted ex-lover perhaps. I doubt it would be my ex, Stacy. She wouldn't do something like this, and she lives in a different city now anyway. Jonathan looked inspired, eyes lit up with wonder and determination. He'd gone into full detective mode. I'm intrigued to see where this will lead us. I'm glad it's happened to coincide with his hobby of being a fucking private eye. Us? Yes, you need to analyze the crime scene for clues, and if it's not too much bother, I'd be elated to join you in this exciting endeavor. Before Blake could interject, Jonathan continued, Let's head to your apartment and see if we can find any clues. We can make sure the owls are well, and then I'll help you get them returned home safely. They headed into the bitter cold outside. Jonathan had a breath of e-pipe, which he blew out a mixture of Earl Grey scented smoke and cold air, and formed a cloud that enveloped him. Why Jonathan had wanted to meet at Saucy Mama's in the first place is still a question at the back of Blake's mind, but it would have to stay there for now. I swear my keycard was in here. I'll have to use my phone pass instead. Search for clues. My keycard's here. It's a strange place for it to be. I always keep it in my wallet. Blake took out his wallet and inspected it. Huh? Someone has ripped a hole in the bottom of the card holder. Does anyone else have access to your keycard apart from you? Not normally, but I dropped it in the meeting room the other day. Chris found it and returned it to me. It's never happened before. Interesting. Have you left your wallet unattended anywhere recently? Not that I can recall. Why would someone cut a hole in your wallet to get the keycard instead of just taking it? To access the keycard without looking suspicious? This is a potential possibility, but a small one at that. By cutting a hole in the wallet, they wouldn't be able to guarantee when it would drop. And if they had access to your wallet, why not just simply take the keycard then? Most likely someone wanted your keycard to drop, so someone else would pick it up and alert you to the fact that it wasn't secure. This also means that someone may have had access to your apartment since before Friday. This all sounds a little complicated and far-fetched. It does, and all the more intriguing. On the floor was a tablet pen. Blake vaguely recognized it from somewhere and took a closer look. The tablet pen was a bright shade of pink with an aggressively chewed end. Blake didn't have a tendency to eat pens. It was an efficient way of getting unwanted germs, and he certainly wouldn't want to use one that someone else's mouth had been intimate with. Yuck, someone's chewed this pen. This might be a clue to who was last in possession of this pen. The word Max Hacks was written in turquoise letters down the side. Max Hacks? Let's check what's it. Jonathan opened the What's It app and took a picture of the lettering. First match here is an Image Nation account belonging to our very own Max. It showcases some of your hacking knowledge, but it's mainly screenshots of your gaming on the Nudge stream. It's things like this that will entirely baffle me. Call me an old fuddy-duddy, but when everyone's busy streaming what they're doing, who's left to watch? Blake had no idea what fuddy-duddy meant, and noticed Jonathan had a tendency to use a large amount of outdated words. However, that's beside the point. How did he get here in your apartment? I honestly don't know. There was a piece of material stuck to the nib of the pen. There's a small piece of silk material on the end here. It's all very intriguing. Yeah, it's intriguing. This is the beer I had before I went to bed. Nothing weird about that. On the contrary, Blake. You said you don't remember hearing anything at all night, yeah? Correct. Is there a chance someone could have tampered with your drink? That could explain why I slept in so late. Blake looked startled and horrified and gave the drink a sniff. You wouldn't necessarily smell or taste it, but let's move on for now. Hold on a minute, you just said I might have been drugged. There's no way to test it in the right here and now, but we'll get to that. We need to rule every possibility out. It looks like the material from the nib of the pen is from my wallet, so someone used the pen to rip a hole in it. Whoever had access to the pen and your wallet is our prime suspect right now. What does this all mean? I don't know, but something isn't right. I believe there's more to this than we initially thought. So you suspect foul play? Precisely. The next thing we can do is advance our investigation is to check the building's CCTV. But first, let's get these owls back home. Jonathan took out a familiar looking device. You have an HG device with you? Oh yes, this isn't a prototype version though. Jonathan started to message someone and Blake thought back to the owl and the wood mouse text he'd received. The message had no sender. Claude should be here soon to come pick up the owls. Who's Claude? He's a friend that works at the NSPD. Wait, what? You informed a police officer? Detective. And this detective will help me? Yes, he won't tell anyone. He's my personal contact in case of emergencies. So you're saying you can just do what you want, and he'll say you're an anonymous tipper. Well, I can't do anything I want. That wouldn't be responsible, but he's always there to assist if I need a favour. Jonathan's voice softened a little. In the meantime, whilst we wait, we should sit down and talk. I still have something very pressing I need to discuss, and here is probably the best place to do that. Blake was intrigued and half expected Jonathan to swipe his hand across the air to magically reveal his pressing agenda. Go on. Firstly, I want to say that although the circumstance here with your owl situation is a little odd to say the least, I'm enjoying spending some time helping you. Jonathan was searching for the right words to continue. "I'd like to direct this conversation to your past, more importantly, that you had a change in guardianship at a young age." It seemed an odd direction for the conversation, but it took a lot to faze him. "You mean when I was adopted?" "Yes, you see, the thing is, Blake, there's no easy way for me to say this, but..." Jonathan looked down at the ground. "You're my dad?" Jonathan looked down at the ground momentarily. "I'm your biological father." "Really?" A deafening silence swept across the room as they both let the information sink in. Blake was clearly confused. It was a reaction that Jonathan had anticipated. They simmered in the moment. Jonathan patiently waited whilst deep in thought about how to continue the conversation. "Really? This is amazing." "I know you must be feeling thunderstruck by this news. I can understand that, but here, take this. It contains all the documents in it. They're yours now. And there's all the information you need." As much as he would have preferred to be handing over a brown envelope with string and washer, the mini flash drive would have to do. The small object was encompassed in the palm of his hand. Jonathan's expression started to soften as he handed it over. Blake studied the back of Jonathan's wrinkled hand as he held it out. The snaking veins reminded him of a valley of winding rivers. Jonathan began an attempt to explain more, but was interrupted by the doorbell. "We'll discuss this later, I promise." Blake opened the door and in walked Claude. He nodded at Blake, his eyes scanned the room, then his attention quickly went to Jonathan. "Watch it. So where's this mess then?" "Thanks so much for coming, Claude." "Blake, do you mind if I take him to see the owls?" Jonathan pointed to ask which way Blake's bedroom was. "Sure, go ahead, it's just down there on the right." Once they left the room, Blake sat back and thought about what Jonathan had just told him, and toyed with the flash drive between his fingers. He grabbed his computer and slotted the flash drive in. Scrutinizing the documents, there was a birth certificate, same birthday as the one he celebrated, adoption documents, and a family picture. A smiling 6-year-old Blake, his mum, and a proud-looking 30-something-year-old Jonathan. Blake had vague memories of his parents, but it was mostly a blur. Jonathan had felt familiar when they'd first met, but thinking back, the man seemed different now to what he remembered. Time and success most likely aged and shaped him into the person he'd become, and they'd had over 2 decades to catch up on. This all looks legit. Blake Gourdain. Wow, it's going to take some getting used to. Why don't I remember this clearly? Yeah, you were 6. That's old enough to remember. Right, I'm going to need to transport the owls somewhere secure and release them into an area where they can't escape. And then I'll call this in as an anonymous tip-off. That way no evidence will be found. You can use the abandoned computer store. Well, I mean ICC. Procured the building and the renovation isn't due to commence until next month. There's no CCTV. I can use the side street for discretion. There was a normal half-assed precipitation going on outside as Blake checked out the sliding balcony doors. He imagined it would work in their favour for keeping the streets quiet. They transferred the owls to the back of the police van, concealed inside multiple cardboard boxes. It was an arduous task, done to ensure that none of the owls were harmed in the process. Again, my utmost appreciation for your assistance with this, Claude. Please let me know when it's all done. Claude tipped his hat at Jonathan and gave another nod to Blake before leaving. Jonathan noticed the family picture on Blake's computer screen and smiled. "I'm very fond of that picture." The smile faded and a glint of sadness showed in his eyes. Jonathan cleared his throat and knew that Blake would also need some time for the news to sink in. Let's go back to the owl situation and how this could have happened. Let's analyse the evidence we have. Is there anything prominent that sticks out here? It seemed a meticulous and investigative nature ran in their blood. Blake took a moment to choose his words carefully. Was there any evidence that could help the investigation? The sender's name was blank on the text, which means it was someone who had access to a HG device. Oh, this is very strange, and news to me. I can imagine this may make me look like a suspect, however I can assure you it wasn't me. For now, you'll have to take my word for it. There's another way I may be able to help you shed some light on the culprit. I'll pick you up tomorrow and we'll check your apartment's security footage. Try to get some rest. Blake had a moment to take in his surroundings and let out a big breath. Whew. What a day. He decided to go survey the damage in the bedroom. Feathers were everywhere, and bird shit, just like he predicted. He clicked on the news channel and started to scrub. It was more difficult to clean than anticipated. Nothing on the news about owls yet, but it was too soon. He'd have to bag up these feathers tight, or maybe make a pillow out of them. Room cleaned, he could finally rest. The next morning felt nice and calm in Blake's apartment, just how he liked it. A new day, no concerns. If anyone has information on Sam Smithers' whereabouts, we urge you to come forward and please contact the Hive team. The news finally switched to what he'd been waiting for. And some good news today. At 8 AM this morning, all 7 missing owls that had been stolen yesterday were delivered back to New Stone Owl Sanctuary unharmed, after a detective located them at a local closed-down store. Although there's no evidence to suggest who committed this crime, we can confirm that no harm came to the owls and they are very happy to be home. Some good news for once. The clip of the reporter outside the building cut to a montage of cute owls accompanied by a silky-voiced male narrator telling his audience which owls are close buddies and how they like to spend their spare time. Murdering mice, probably. The report finished up with requests for donations. It was clear the Owl Sanctuary was making the most of this opportunity to promote. Jonathan, hey Blake, get down here pronto. We got some investigating to do. And he's keen on this. Where are we going? You'll see. Jonathan was driving manually and concentrating on what he was doing. Why he was driving instead of on autopilot, Blake didn't really understand. It chalked up to being another of Jonathan's anachronistic eccentricities. Blake made a bet with himself that Jonathan probably still drank water from a tap too. If only we had water that was good enough to drink out of a tap. They travelled outside of the business district to the east part of New Stone. Around here they called it Newston. Large opulent houses lavishly decorated and possessing the newest of technical gadgetry. Gardens exhibited the finest topiary and the most exotic plants. This part of town was heavily surveilled by private security firms and personal bodyguards. Only the top businessmen, the richest celebrities and high rollers lived here. Jonathan had to pass a series of systems in order to gain access to his own house. It was an assault course of securities. The spacious living room was white and black with minimalistic style, exceptionally tidy due to the hired cleaner who visited every couple of days. An open-plan kitchen joined at the far back of the room. Grey, silver, black, white, and no colours to be seen anywhere. Only one room in the house possessed a slightly wider colour palette, and that was Jonathan's work at home office. The circular archaic bookcase, the odd contraptions in the cabinet of wonders, and some sort of leafless tree-type sculpture thing lurking in the corner of the room. It was just how Blake had expected. Sounds fascinating. That's an awesome bookcase, man. It's just in here. You have books? I stopped at the bookcase. Blake chuckled and scanned the titles. They didn't look neat. Every book was a different height and width, and each one had a different coloured sleeve. This is a concept I learned from a forgotten era. Jonathan couldn't help but slip a smirk. He clutched a book by its spine and tilted it towards him. The book released a faintly audible click. Jonathan gave Blake a wink as the bookshelf moved to the side, revealing a hidden door. Down in the clandestine room, he housed 2 computers and other technical instruments that Blake had never seen before. Oh, you've got a bat cave. Nice. Everyone wants a bat cave. Take a seat. The 2 machines were on standby mode, so there was no waiting around for them to load up. What is this place? Where'd you get all these things from? This is where I keep my inventions, prototypes and backup equipment. I always thought it'd be useful to hold on to some items as they could be put to good use. First things first. Jonathan poured some of the liquid from the beer bottle into a container and then clicked it into a machine. Then was busy tapping away on his phone. This little invention can tell you information about ingredients and the breakdown of nutrients, as well as read calories. It also works on materials. My. The reader says that the liquid contains hypnorol. No wonder you didn't hear anything. Someone drugged me? But how? I don't want to alarm you, but my guess would be that you have a beer most Fridays, so they were counting on an observed habit. Observed? It is a possibility. Let's check the security camera for your apartment. Hopefully we'll be able to see who was there. It might shed some light on everything. If I've calculated this correctly, this one should be the camera I spotted on the wall opposite your door. Here we are. It's locked? Nothing I can't handle? Jonathan smirked and opened a drawer underneath the desk. He took out a small handheld rectangular machine with no definable markings on it. I call her Maxine. He connected the device to the laptop, clicked a few buttons, and the device started to make a whirring noise. Beep. So you're old school, but you can also hack stuff. You are a badass. This is why you need to get out more. But where would you be without this old man's kooky devices? Now we just need to choose the date. 23rd of March, wasn't it? Yeah, that's the one. They watched the footage and both began to look concerned. Nothing. How could there be no movement at all evening? Jonathan checked the recording from the previous day leading up to the owl theft and still nothing. Looks like someone has tampered with the footage somehow. This isn't the original. Can we get the original? It depends, but either way it's beyond my capabilities. We need help with that. We know that Max is a hacker. She might be able to assist. Lee is another whose knowledge goes way beyond my own. There could be an option, should you wish to delve deeper. Someone's gone to a lot of trouble to cover up who they are. For now, I don't think we're going to find the answer. Try your best not to worry. Go and get some rest. Maybe give it a few days and then we can ask Max or Lee if they can help us. But it's probably one of them, or it could be one of them. He gave Blake a reassuring squeeze of the shoulder. That pen was Max's. Word had already spread around the office that Blake could be Jonathan's long-lost son. No one had the stones to ask Blake about the gossip. They were all treading lightly around the subject, but Blake sensed the chatter. The owl incident and the poem felt like a strange and distant memory. Looking up from his daydream, Blake noticed Chris was standing by him, just staring. How long had he been there? How did he not feel the quiver of the building structure as Chris galumphed over? Blake felt a shudder down his spine. How's it going? I got some analytics for you to run when you get a moment. Mr. Gourdain said he's keen to get the ball rolling. Chris handed over the copy with care, as if it were made out of thin glass. More paper. The paper was crinkled as the crumpled veins of laziness on Chris's shirt. Blake considered derisively. Thanks. Mr. Gourdain, well, the other Mr. Gourdain. Wait, no, not that I met this too. I'm sorry, I didn't mean... People said that Jonathan is your... Chris stopped rambling. He looked worried and panicked as he realized he'd slipped up and the secret was definitely out. It's fine, don't worry, it's not inaccurate, but please just deny any knowledge if anyone asks you. Chris looked genuinely pleased and grateful. I won't say anything to anyone, I promise. Jonathan also suggested we get together outside of work to go through the project together. So, do you mind if I come to yours? Great, I can bring Marv, my dog, with me too. Great. Sounds great to me. Tonight it is. Oh, okay then. He's a little forceful. Blake pulled a perplexed face as Chris's mountainous frame hobbled off, and he wondered whether Chris had always been a Hulk, or he'd just really got into weightlifting. How many hours a day would you have to do to achieve that? I can't wait for Ultra Assault. I'm going to win a medal this year. I can feel it. Can you just imagine how amazing that would be? You're going to be eating my dust at the Red Dragon course, just like last year. I won't, because you're a lizard, but... Come on then, out with the punchline. Because you'll be the one dragging behind. No, just no. Are you planning on taking part this year, Blake? I always have the best intentions to. I enjoy the events and everything in Ultra Assault month, but tend to lose track of what's going on. I don't think my character has ever been higher than level 10. I prefer watching the live finals rather than taking part. You could always come to some classes with me in Orlo. Orlo had already zoned out and gone back to his work at this point. No reaction or look upwards at the sound of his name. Lee, however, looked to be listening intently, as though he wanted to say something. As in, they have dedicated workout classes for this game. Yeah, it's really nice. Everyone gets together to increase their levels, and it gives a proper community vibe rather than pure competitivity. How about you, Lee? Do you play? Me? Oh yeah, I will be playing this year. I actually came 4th 2 years ago. No way. Seriously? Lee nodded shyly, then he tapped his touchboard and brought up an image of him with his medal. That's totally Vin. Willow peered up from behind his computer screen. Not a real word. I'm actually talking to an Ultra Assault finalist. Mac took the touchboard for a closer look and shrieked in delight. The loud noise brought Orlo back into the conversation. Pretty cool. Oh, thanks, guys. How'd you manage it? I mean, I bet you trained every day, right? Yeah, of course. I'm more long distance and speed training, so I went to Ultra Assault bonus running groups. I leveled up my character's speed and agility enough to be in the live finals for the desert course within 12 days. What? So mega? I made sure I practiced on the game's demo courses so I knew what kind of obstacles my characters would face. It was good fun. I see you have the Ultra XI training watch. Or Ultra 11. Just so Vin. Still not a real word. Yeah, I know Ultra Assault month is a few weeks away, but I wanted to get to grips with it before this year's competition. It gives you better updates on leveling your character, and you can add in what exercise suits you, and more accurately, reminders for how much exercise you need to do. My Ultra V4 still does the trick for me. Don't hate the player. Conversation died down when everyone went back to their desks. Blake noticed a tablet pen left behind on his desk. A dark pen with a chewed end, just like the one in his apartment. Hey, anyone left their pen here? Ah, that's mine. How many times have I told you to stop chewing the ends of those, Orlo? You get a shock doing that. I'll be fine. You got a minute? Come in, come in. One hand gestured for Blake to come into the room, whilst the other was pushing paper to the side of his desk. He was happy to see Blake. How was everything going? Have you heard any further from our mystery owl thief? Nothing so far, but Orlo left his pen on my desk. It's the same pen as we found in my apartment. I see, we still need further proof before we can assume it was him. I think it's time we involve one of your colleagues in assisting us by hacking into the CCTV camera tonight. Considering you know them much better than I do, and it'd be rather less intimidating, it might be best for you to invite them. Who would you like to invite? Let's go with Max. Perfect, let me know if Max agrees to help us. I meant to ask, how have you been doing in general? All good, thanks for asking. Brilliant, that's what I want to hear. So me and Jonathan went to check the CCTV camera in my apartment and wondered if you might be able to help us at all. Depends why you need to check the CCTV. Someone broke into my apartment. I had a break-in at my apartment. Jonathan's helping me look into it. Oh man, in that case of course I'll help you. So how'd it go? Max is happy to help us. Great, my car will pick you both up at around 8 o'clock. Blake headed through the main lobby at the end of his working day. Well, good afternoon, Blake. Andy had the most endearing smile and temperament. His nose and eyes crinkled as he flashed his hand in a welcoming gesture. Everyone thought Andy was an awesome guy. He knew all the staff members' names and little details about them every now and then. He'd forget small things, such as, how's the doggo? What's the little floof's name again? Ah yes, of course. I made it seem more human. His creators had done a great job, and it was rare for a droid to be so highly regarded and liked by staff members. Good day? Oh yes, it's been a long one, but we're nearly there. An affable chuckle followed as Andy glanced at the time on the wall. His voice was confident, tone was pleasant, and they'd given him an accent that was from neither here nor there. Andy rested his elbows on the desk and leaned forwards in a hushed voice. I had something I wanted to ask you, actually. What's up? If you don't mind me asking, Lee is on your floor, so you must see him sometimes, right? Yeah, he sits near me. Tell me, how's he getting on up there? He's getting more confident. His confidence seems to be growing. That's brilliant. Blake, you don't know how glad I am to hear that. Thank you. The door buzzed. Blake wondered what on earth he was doing, but lifted his phone to the door panel in order to let Chris into his apartment. He had a fleeting thought, where he wondered if the dog would be abnormally large too. The sound of barking unleashed the moment the door opened. Chris had to hunch down to avoid hitting his head on the doorframe. The dog came bounding into the room, his big jaw open in an excited smile, but luckily the dog was a normal size for a French bulldog. Come in, have a seat. Chris sat down on the sofa and made it look smaller than it was. He looked a little uncomfortable. Blake imagined everything was much bigger in his own apartment to accommodate. This is Marv, he's very friendly. Stranger? He can talk? Marv sniffed at Blake's leg. Stranger, non-hostile. The dog stated in a happy and hyperactive voice, and the collar flashed. Bayo vocalizer collars are a new technology. The device detects brainwaves and vocalizes Marv's needs when they're in thought, and helps me to understand him as a being. I see. You can also play a game with him, and if you do, he'll let you pet him as a reward. Play. Yeah, alright, whatever. Okay, sounds like fun. You have to take it in turns to choose a number, and whoever reaches 33 wins. I'm gonna get beaten by a dog? Fucking hell. You can only choose a number that's 1 to 4 numbers higher than the last number that was chosen. So if Marv started first and chose 1, you could choose 2, 3, 4, or 5. Let's do this. Reach 33. Go. Marv goes first and chooses between 1 and 4. Oh crap, it depends on who picks what. I choose 3. What do we need to get? 33. Just go 7. 8. I don't know the secret to winning this, and I know there is one. 12. 13. 17. I choose 18. 7 numbers higher. So all I need to do is get to... what do we got? 26? So I need to choose 7 numbers before 26, right? 19. 23. If he chooses 26, then I can just choose 23, right? Oh, it has to be 4 numbers, doesn't it? So I need to get to 29. $25. $28. Oh, I have to get to 29. Fuck. Alright, you win. Okay, I can't beat this dog. Fuck this dog. No. No worries, good try. I think he's cheating anyway. I didn't take you as the type to have a pet. I like the idea of caring and loving for a more dependent species as if it were part of your own family. They don't have the tools to build and create like us, but our bonds are precious. Poop. Blake nearly spat his tea out. What was that? Oh, sorry, it's the bear. I should take Marv out to relieve himself before it starts to rain. He doesn't like the rain. After Marv was sorted, Blake and Chris worked on their project for a couple of hours. It was Jonathan's car to pick him up. He'd nearly forgotten. Oh, Chris, I'm sorry, but I have to get going now. Let's continue this tomorrow at work. No problem, I look forward to it. Chris left with Marv. Jonathan's car arrived on the dot to pick up Blake. And Max is already inside the vehicle, looking bedazzled by everything. And with that humiliating defeat by the dog, who I'm not ever going to beat, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.